Welcome to the video Russell. I'm your host Pinky, and today we're going to be talking about the Queen's Court. So if you'd like to see more, then just stay tuned, like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into this video. Okay, y'all, I was going to make this one of those videos where I watched this show so you didn't have to, but I don't remember everybody's names, and when I tried to look up more information about the show or even just the contestants' names, I could not find them. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna make this video talking about the show overall, okay? And spoiler alert, there's gonna be spoilers all through this. Mind you, we got major spoilers before the show even aired on Peacock because we found out that Tamar and Evelyn were engaged. So first of all, the Queen's Court is a dating show, and it is hosted by Holly Robinson Peete and her husband. Sorry, I can't remember his name. Which I thought they were pretty good hosts. They've been married for 20 plus years, so I feel like their advice was good. The contestants on the show is Tamar Braxton, Evelyn Lozada, and Nivea. I'm familiar with all of these ladies from reality TV. I know Nivea was a singer, but I more so know her from the TV show Encore. And I do know that she has kids with Lil Wayne as well as The Dream. I believe she was married to The Dream. She's very funny. She's very entertaining. So I was excited to hear that she was going to be on a show like this because she cracks me up every time I see her on camera. And I feel like that's just her natural personality. Like, she's just fun, and you know, she's the type of person to wear her heart on her sleeve, and she's always going to let you know how she feels. She just got that real raw personality. You could tell she's not doing it for the cameras. You could tell like this is really her personality. She was very open to meeting these men. The only thing that I wish Nivea wouldn't have done so much of was leading with the sensual advances. I wish she would have cut back on that some, because that ended up being a problem for her in the long run. When you lead with that and you're looking for something long term, it tends to attract the wrong thing from men. And men tend to put you in a box, and you know, you don't get the behavior you want from them. And that's exactly what happened. It came down to two guys for her. It was between, I believe it was Ty and Mac. Ty was the one, I feel like he was playing games. I was crossing my fingers, hoping that she would not choose him, because he acted like he was going deeper. He acted like he was pursuing her. But in actuality, he was playing games the whole time, and he was leading with the sensual nature, rubbing her feet, giving her massages. But when it came to having deeper conversation, you know, he wouldn't go there with her. He didn't know anything about her, and people that had been there in less time knew her better than that. People that weren't even really that interested in Nivea knew more about her. And then we have Mac, which I feel like was a nice man. He would have really loved Nivea. Something that stuck out to me about him is that he was a single father, and he raised his children. He said he stayed single for like 10 years because he knew he had to raise his children. And I feel like that's somebody with a good heart. But in the end, Nivea chose herself because she said she wasn't ready to be in a relationship. And I respect that. And I think that's so awesome that she knew that about herself. I know it's crazy that she did a dating show and she ended up, you know, not in a relationship or not choosing anybody. But honestly, maybe her best match wasn't even there, and she said herself she wasn't ready. So I was proud of Nivea for her decision. I was proud of her. I was just proud that she didn't choose Tyree, as long as it wasn't him. Now, as far as Evelyn and Tamar goes, I feel like they did this show as a rebrand because their stint on reality TV has been less than charming, less than favorable. I'm going to start with Evelyn Lozada because she really left a bad taste in my mouth. I mean, as if, you know, she didn't have a terrible reputation for fighting on TV, jumping over tables, bullying women. She ran amok on Basketball Wives for years, and she got away with this terrible behavior and even rewarded. In particular, her behavior on her last season on Basketball Wives, the way that she and some of the other women really tried to isolate OG. She even made some colorist posts. It just left a bad taste in my mouth. After all that happened, I really just did not want to support Evelyn in any way. But it's sad because I did want to support Nivea and Tamar. I wanted to watch this show. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't too interested in Evelyn's storylines. At one point she had the most men after her in the house, and I don't know why she wasn't really giving much. She wasn't not as far as conversation. Up until the end, I really did think Evelyn was just playing everybody on the show. She didn't really show much interest in anyone. There was plenty of men that showed interest in her, but she didn't seem to really fall for anybody, or wasn't even trying to fall for anybody until the end, and she fell for Levon. Like, their whole back and forth was, she lives in LA, he lives in Atlanta. At some point someone is gonna have to move in order for them to be together. I knew the entire time she kept talking about, I don't know who's gonna move, I don't know who's. Girl, we already knew Levon was gonna move, and sure enough at the end credits, Levon moved. Levon seemed like he really did win her over. He does seem like he's a good man, but I'm not gonna sit up here and act like I'm rooting for Evelyn. But she does seem to have found love with Levon. I'm thinking Levon had to have some kind of money, because Evelyn kept saying, I take care of myself and this and that, but we know Evelyn does not date a broke man. That's all she dated in the past was ballers. Tammy said that she dated her way through all the player associations: baseball, football, and basketball. When she first came on Basketball Wives, I believe she was engaged to a basketball player. And then we all know that infamous marriage that only lasted 45 days with Chad Ochocinco that ended with a headbutting incident that was very tragic. And you know what threw me off about that is that she would constantly refer to that incident throughout the entire show and talk about how that was so traumatic for her. She kept referring to herself as a domestic violence victim, which I don't take any of that away from her. I truly believe that happened. I mean, we saw the pictures, right? But just to bring it back to Basketball Wives, if that was such a traumatic experience for you and you can't stand this man, and he just did this awful thing to you, you keep talking about him in this terrible way, but then you call him for this frivolous reason in order to spite another woman on this show because you thought he couldn't possibly be attracted to OG. And it turns out he really did slide up in her DMs and was trying to talk to her. But like I said, you call him for this frivolous reason, even though y'all have this tumultuous history and you can't stand him, but you could call him up to say, oh yeah, you weren't really interested in this girl, were you? I don't know, that kind of took the steam out of what she was saying whenever she would talk about him. I said in the beginning that I felt like this was a rebrand for Evelyn. We didn't see Evelyn really go off this season. We didn't see her really raise her voice. I'm trying to think, did she ever even have a point? Like, she kind of snapped at one of the contestants at one point, but he started with her. We didn't see that vein pop out on her forehead. We didn't hear her cuss nobody. And she even looked like she wasn't a gold digger at the end of the day, because we don't know whether that man has money or not. So I feel like for her, this was a successful rebrand, and I guess kudos to you, Evelyn. But let's move on to Tamar, because Tamar is another person that I feel like was trying to use this show as a rebrand. I first found out about Tamar on Braxton Family Values, and obviously her sister is Toni Braxton, and she is the mega superstar of her family, and they had a reality show where Tamar, she is the youngest, and she was pretty much insufferable and a brat on that show. She really got into it with every single person in her family on that show. Like, at one point or time, she constantly ran her mouth. She constantly was disrespectful. She constantly talked about her sister's marriages and husbands, even though her marriage clearly wasn't perfect. There's always like an element of shade and underhanded backhanded compliments, passive aggressive, well, aggressively passive aggressive child sometimes. I feel like there was always a little bit of jealousy, especially when it came to Toni. Like, I feel like all of it came from some insecurities or maybe some low self-esteem issues. I could really do a whole video on Braxton family values within itself, but Tamar really set herself up to have a bad reputation from that show, because not only is Tamar a reality star, she's also a singer, and Tamar has a beautiful voice and she's had success in the music industry, but something tells me that she could have had more success had her reputation not preceded her on her reality show. Also, Tamar had like a major mental health scare, I'm gonna put it in that way, and she attributed it to being on that reality show and it negatively impacting her mental health. She almost didn't make it. At one point, I thought she had given up on reality TV, but then she used reality TV to come back and kind of rebrand. She did Celebrity Big Brother. It kind of showed a different side of Tamar. You got to see her being chill. You got to see her getting along with people. She even ended up winning. Then she did the Surreal Life reboot, which I actually watched, and she was actually really refreshing on that show. She was fun. She didn't really have too much conflict, and when she did, she was reasonable and willing to talk it out. But that show just didn't really pop off like that. I don't think many people watched that show. And so now we see her on the Queen's Court. I have to say, all the ladies were beautiful, but Tamar really looked amazing. She looked refreshed. She was toned down. She had like this muted makeup. And Tamar on this show is a completely different Tamar. We didn't get the snapping of the neck. We didn't get her going off really until it was necessary. Now, she did go off on somebody, but it was warranted. She was very agreeable. She was very soft. She was very kind. Even with the other women, they were able to have like this sisterhood. She was very friendly with them. She was highly sought after by the men. This was a different side because we've always seen Tamar in relationships, but we get to see single Tamar dating. And the guy that she was entertaining, she basically had entertained from the jump. This guy named JR. You know, he was outside of her comfort zone. He was a white guy. But y'all, let me say this about JR. JR is handsome. JR has a good job. He's a lawyer. So he seemed like he got money. He continuously bought Tamar these really expensive, nice gifts the entire show. She pretty much entertained him to the very end. And he proposed on the last episode. With reality shows, I grew up on Flavor of Love. Okay. So I always think that this possibly could be fake. Tamar is very dramatic. She'll cry with no tears at the drop of a hat. So he did propose and she did. It was a very dramatic time. I don't know how sincere it was, y'all. I can't tell y'all how sincere it was, but I do know that they're engaged still in real time. So at least that much is true. But JR came with a lot of baggage. Jamar had 4 baby mamas. Okay. And so even though they had chemistry and you could tell that she was really liking him, but I was just like, Tamar, that's a lot of baggage. But then I would think, well, Tamar comes with a lot of baggage too. Like, she's a celebrity and she constantly is, you know, getting into it on social media. Her name is constantly on the blogs. So she comes with a lot as well. But I was just like, child, But also in real time, one of JR's baby mothers came out and spoke against Tamar. Tamar posted JR on his birthday and was talking about how she loved him and she loved his kids and their blended family or whatever. The baby mama came out and said, I don't like you. My son don't even know you like that. It was drama. Although it feels like the girl waited until the show came out in order to bring this kind of drama to the blogs. It's like I knew this would happen. To be fair, he did come out and speak in her defense. With a situation like this, and there are 4 other women with children with this man that you're gonna have to deal with, there was always gonna be that possibility you're gonna have to deal with this. But if this is what you want to deal with, that's what you want to deal with. Wasn't shocked at all though that happened. I told y'all I really thought this was gonna be a good rebrand for Tamar, but Tamar, I feel like Tamar knows that controversy sells and keeps her relevant, and that's what she's best at. So she had this whole drama with Candy from Real Housewives of Atlanta. We were supposed to believe she changed. We were supposed to believe she's a different person. And Tamar is back to her same old tricks that she had on Braxton Family Values, playing these social media games, keeping the drama going, posting all these comments. It's too much drama, y'all. I can barely keep up. And that's how you know Tamar really hasn't changed. And it's sad because watching the show, before all this happened, watching this show, I really did believe it. I really did think, you know, I was giving her the benefit of the doubt, but clearly ain't nothing new under the sun. So let me know what y'all think about everything down below. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? I'd love to hear your opinion. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Peace.